Let's talk about your ordination,
Yes.
the wedding date.
Yeah.
What was the lead up to that like for you?
So I got ordained on June 5th, 2021. It's weird. It's just one of these things that as a seminarian, you go to so many ordinations every year, right?
Yes.
And they're never your own.
Yes. You're always helping out.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, you're up. Right?
It's your
You're
turn.
up.
Yeah.
So for me, it was hard to believe, I think, that I was about to become a priest. And I remember I was probably about 2 weeks before my ordination. I was at Holy Cross Chapel downtown waiting for Mass to start, because I needed to go to a daily Mass. And they had, I think Mass was at 11:30 or something. So I was there waiting for Mass to start.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, this is 2 weeks before my ordination, I said, wow, my life is about to just fundamentally change. I have spent the last 9 years, during breaks and stuff, looking for a place to go to Mass.
Yes.
Always, having to drive to the parish, waiting for Mass to start.
Yes.
And then I was like, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be the one saying Mass. I'm not going to be sitting in the pews waiting for Mass to start anymore.
Yes.
I'll be, in the sacristy. I will be the one saying Mass.
Yeah.
My life is about to change.
Yeah, you're no longer going to be a seminarian.
Yeah.
You'd gotten so used to being a seminarian for so many years.
Yeah. And I also remember a couple days before just thinking, wow, in 3 days, I'm going to be hearing confessions. Wow.
Was that what you were looking forward to the most about being a priest? Those sacraments?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, what's interesting about the seminary is the main things that the priest does and what, seminarians are, studying to be priest, to do, like the sacraments, right? As a seminarian, because of the nature of what priesthood is, we can't do any of those really properly priestly things until we actually are a priest.
Yes, you can practice it.
So, for example, a medical student, when they're studying and helping out in hospitals, even though, they're not, the doctor has to supervise, they can do some of the, little things. They might let them, or, help out a little bit
yes.
in a surgery or so, what, I don't know the whole process, but
yeah,
they can actually do some of the things. But for us, the main things we can't do until we're actually a priest.
Yeah, you can't jump in the confessional and sit
exactly.
with the priest.
And I think another thing that I thought about that's interesting just in the nature of holy orders is, it all comes down to, the ordination itself, consecration, being consecrated. I remember one of my friends one time saying basically that authority, in the church is based on, it comes from consecration, not from, your knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. So what I've thought about before that's interesting is, as a seminarian, I could go through 9 years of seminary and have all of the knowledge in the world. But if I didn't actually show up on my ordination day and get ordained, I couldn't do any of the things that I was studying to do. Right? So it's there's something really profound that happens on your ordination day. But what's also funny is this would never happen because, the diocese wouldn't let it, the church wouldn't let it. But if somebody didn't even go to seminary and just showed up and got ordained, and the bishop was like, okay, fine, I'll ordain you. And he didn't know anything about the church or whatever.
Yeah.
As long as he was, previously baptized and he was ordained a priest, he could say Mass and it would be the Mass. Right? Even though he knows nothing about the church.
Yes.
But because he has the sacrament of holy orders, because he was ordained a priest.
That's how special it is, yeah.
That he, he would say Mass and it would be valid.
What do you remember the most about the day itself?
I remember waking up that morning, okay, it's here. Mm-hmm. Wow. And then I remember when I got to the cathedral, just talking to people, seeing a lot of the guests that I invited to come, and it's just kind of surreal that it's actually happening. But I remember before the Mass started, I told the Cardinal, because part of the rite of ordination, is your hands get anointed
Okay.
with chrism.
Yes.
And I said, when you anoint my hands with chrism, you can be real generous. Like, just don't be afraid to be real generous with the chrism.
Why is that? Why'd you say that?
Well, because it smells so good.
Oh.
It's awesome. And he said, he's like, I usually do pretty good. But both of the deacons who were serving, Deacon Christopher and Deacon Jacob, they both said that the Cardinal gave me an extra dab of chrism.
Oh, wow.
They said they were watching for all the guys, and they said I actually got an extra dab. But from the rite of ordination itself, it was just, surreal being there. And then also just during, the rite, trying to also like pray, say, Jesus, just give me the grace that I need to do this. And so for the ordination itself, I remember feeling the same way during the diaconate. I really love the Litany of the Saints.
Yes.
Where we get you prostrate
Yes.
on the floor in front of the altar. I really love that. And I think last year as a deacon, I was really like praying, for grace, like to be faithful. But this year as a priest, I was actually just making all of the response, like, pray for us. I was like, I want to be singing this too, praying and asking all these saints to pray for me, pray for us. So this year, as I was lying prostrate, really, I was, also singing the litany quietly, not obnoxiously loud. And then, of course...
did you get to choose any of the...
Yeah, we were able to add
did you
in
choose?
a couple saints. So I added in... Saint John Baptiste de la Salle, and Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. The reason I added Saint John Baptiste de la Salle is because he is actually engraved on my chalice. Oh. I got an older chalice, from the early 1900s, so I didn't, design what was on it or anything.
Okay.
And he's on the chalice, and one of my friends said, like, you should really start up a devotion to him.
Okay.
And so I picked him for the litany because he was on my challenge. Like, all right, I'll pick John Baptiste de la Salle.
Okay.
And then I picked St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. I also picked her for the diaconate because I really love, the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And she's the one that the Sacred Heart, appeared to.
Okay.
And so I picked her. So those two.
Did you feel in the air how extra special it was because it was the first big... the first big event for the Archdiocese since the pandemic? Yeah,
I was just super thankful that they let us invite as many people as we wanted. And that happened it was 2 weeks before our ordination that they lifted everything. So just so super thankful that it was totally open. And then, during the rite itself, one of the things I remember, of course, the two crucial elements are the Cardinal imposing hands, laying hands on your head, and then the prayer of ordination. But another part, right after Cardinal lays his hands, all the priests come through and also impose hands.
Yes.
And I remember during that, I would try to, keep my eyes closed and pray, but then I'd always wonder, who was that? I wonder who that was. And I would look up and see, did I recognize that priest?
Are you supposed to keep your eyes closed? Or?
No, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. Look at this guy. He's peeking.
You don't have... everyone's different. Some guys are looking the whole time. Some guys are really have their eyes closed. But I was trying to keep my eyes closed and trying to pray. But then I would also inevitably think, who was that? I don't recognize those shoes. Do
you go back to the live stream and...
I have a couple times just to kind of like review things. But and then, after that's the prayer of ordination, which I really love... I love that. I really love, it's in the same tone as the preface, during Mass, which, it is truly right and just our duty and our salvation. It's that same tone.
Yes.
But it's a really long prayer. And the Cardinal chanted the whole thing.
Yes.
And so, I've said this for a while, I could listen to Cardinal Bernardo chant all day. I could listen to him chant the preface all day long. I love it. So just hearing him chant the prayer of ordination, I just loved. And then, I also really loved, my hands getting anointed. That's something that I was really, really looking forward to, even from a long time ago. Because there is something really unique about, like, you just think about the hands of a priest.
Yes.
That they, consecrate the body and blood of Christ, absolve sinners, baptize,
Yes.
anoint.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And it's
all of
because
those
the
things.
the hands are consecrated, and so the actual anointing of the hands with chrism for me was something I was really excited about.
I never really thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, our hands get anointed, and one thing that's, our hands get anointed with chrism, right? And it smells really good. So I didn't want to, I wanted that smell to remain there for as long as possible. But one thing that's really common after ordinations, and throughout kind of the first year, but really on ordination day, is when you give someone a blessing, a lot of people will kiss your hands.
Yes.
And so I remember after ordination and after the reception at the seminary, when I was back home, we had, I had some friends over and we had dinner, and I was getting ready to eat, and I could still smell the chrism on my hands.
Yes.
And I didn't want to lose that smell. But then I thought, so many people have kissed my hands today.
Yes.
That I pretty much have to wash them before I eat.
Of course.
I don't think I could eat. I mean, I would have been fine, but I just thought I should probably wash my hands. So many people have kissed my hands. And so I could still, the smell was still faint after that, but I tried to keep it as long as possible.
Now, you spoke about your hands. Father Houston said he had problems with his legs during the
Yes,
ordination.
I do remember that. Apparently he was cramping up really bad, and so he
Yes.
went kind of almost into a Tebowing position
Yes.
on one knee. I do remember seeing that out of the corner of my eye thinking, oh boy.
So you did notice that.
I noticed it.
And then Father Joseph said that he actually held up the line, the procession line, because he was too busy talking in the back. Did you have any?
I do remember. I remember him being outside. Yeah.
Did you yell out to him, "Hey, come on, hurry"?
No, someone else does that on that day.
So did anything interesting like that happen to you?
No, nothing interesting
Just the double dip on the
chrism.
chrism.
But I had not really a snafu, but something happened to me at the diaconate ordination.
What was that?
So part of the rite is they call the candidates forward.
Okay.
So said, at the diaconate, they said, let those to be ordained deacons come forward. Then they
Yes.
called the names. And Father Richard McNeely, I still give him a hard time about this, messed up my name. So my name is Chad David Henry.
Okay.
He goes up there and says, let those be ordained deacons come forward. And then he goes, Chad Henry David? And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
So you didn't go.
No, I did. I mean, I could not say present, but during the priesthood ordination, yeah, nothing, no snafus for me. I didn't have any cramps, or I wasn't outside chatting it up with all the other priests.
So you went to Galveston. Was that evening?
The next day.
The next day to do your first mass.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was also really surreal. I remember as we were walking to the back procession, I said to Father Urel, who was there, I've thought about this day a lot. This is
really
crazy. So, what's funny about the day of my first mass was my mind was going 1,000 miles an hour in 500 different directions. And so I rode down to Galveston with 3 friends, the 2 deacons that were serving as deacons, and then another buddy of mine who is joining the Norbertine Fathers this August. And we get to, so typically I'm the one, I'm very organized, very disciplined. I don't lose things. That's just me. But we get down to Galveston and, I park, I get out and I go, where are my keys? Where are my car keys?
Oh no.
And then I go, my car's still running. They're in the ignition. and Deacon Chris goes, oh, it's starting. Oh, look at this.
So your family wasn't with you?
No, because I got there really early. They came down.
Okay,
they
so
came
they
down
went
for the
anyway.
mass, but I got down there. I was probably down there 2 hours early, just to make sure everything was there, everything ready to go. And then another funny thing, before mass, like I said, I'm very organized, disciplined. I don't forget things. Right before the mass started, the MC, the master of ceremony, came back and said, Father, can you load incense into the thurible?
Okay.
And I just remember thinking, wow, I would have totally forgot about that. Like as a seminarian or as an MC, because I've MC'd, some masses before.
Yes.
Like I would remember all those details. But because I was the priest getting ready to say mass, like I wasn't even thinking about that.
You
I
had
would've
other things on your
I was
mind,
just like,
right?
am I going to be able to do this?
And that's why they have the guys to do that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, at what point did you realize, oh, wow, I am a priest? Was it the first time you consecrated the Eucharist? The first?
Probably, I think as I was kind of processing down the aisle at my first Mass, it was pretty crazy. Because I think for me during the Mass, I remember thinking oftentimes, okay, I just got to make sure, because I chanted the whole thing. So really kind of just paying attention to the details, making sure I knew what was coming next. And I was comfortable with the chants. So I was really focused on just, all of the chanting and that I wasn't even thinking about, like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. I was just really like, okay, I got to make sure I do this right, chant correctly.
What was your family like? At the ordination and at that first Mass of yours?
They were really happy, but I was really surprised to see how much my dad cried.
Really? Oh, wow.
That was kind of shocking for me. He cried
That's
a lot.
amazing.
My mom probably did, but I just remember seeing my dad. I was like, whoa.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have, after your first Mass, that tradition of giving your parents the
Maniturgium and the first stole? Yeah, I did that. I had that after the Mass at the end.
What was that like?
That was really, the one thing I remember most clearly was just giving my mom a really long hug. At the end, after I handed it to her.
That is a beautiful tradition. I've said it to the other guests as well, to be able to give those to your parents as a sort of a tradition for them to present when they die.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be buried with it as a sort of, fast pass at the pearly gates. Did your dad cry again when you gave him?
He was probably already crying beforehand. But yeah, he was. And my mom was kind of tearing up too.
But awesome.
I was really surprised how much my dad cried.
Did you have a lot of relatives come in from out of town?
No.
From California?
I only had, I think, one aunt and a grandma.
Okay.
Because a lot of a decent amount of my extended family isn't Catholic.
Okay.
Or just not really practicing.
Okay.
And then also
COVID.
Yeah, my dad's dad,
Travel.
my grandpa, he definitely would have come in, but he's now he's getting really old, so it just was.
You don't want to risk that, yeah.
Just too much for him.
And what's great is that they've got all those live streams.
Yeah.
So you can be there as well. It's one of those silver linings with the with the pandemic. The live stream.
It was. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that it was actually June 5th, 2021. Because the funny thing about the Archdiocese, we do our priestly ordinations. It's always the first Saturday of June. So, your first year in seminary, you can go look. What's the first Saturday in June in 2021 when I'm going to be ordained? You're like, it's June 5th, right? So you usually know, at least for our diocese, like we would know when it was going to be.
There's a countdown. But thousands of days out, you already know.
I was counting. Yeah. I counted down for a year for the diaconate ordination, and after it got pushed back, I decided I'm not going to be counting down days anymore to anything. So I wasn't counting down for priesthood, but I knew, for a long time I've known that it was going to be June 5th, 2021, just because it's the first Saturday of June in 2021. So yeah, and it was actually June 5th, 2021.
Wow.
I'm there.